All right, I think I'm live. Yep, I am indeed live. So what I am going to be doing today is exactly what the title says. I'm going to be taking the React.js assessment on LinkedIn. I've been seeing some YouTubers do some similar stuff. I saw Kyle from Web Dev Simplified doing the JavaScript assessment on YouTube, and I saw some other YouTubers do that as well. I was going to do the JavaScript one, however, I had already done that. So I went to go do it and realized, oh man, I did that like a year or two ago. So I saw a React.js one. I figured let's go ahead and do that. Now I've never taken a formal React.js like quiz before, so I don't really know what the layout is going to be. But as I look here, I can see that it says basics, components, ES next, syntax, hooks, and tools. So this is probably right up my alley. I'm going to go ahead and start it in just a second, probably about 30 seconds. I just want to give about 30 more seconds to let anybody else get on the stream, and then I'll get started now in about 20 seconds. So just hang in there. And yeah, so I'm kind of interested to see what kind of questions are asked in this quiz. Give it about 10 more seconds. And let's go ahead and start. What is the name of the tool used to take JSX and turn it into create element calls? That would be Babel. It's not React DOM, it's not Browser Buddy, it's not JSX editor, it's Babel. When do you use layout effect? To complete the update, to optimize for all devices, when you need the browser to paint before the effect runs, or to change the layout of the screen. Now, honestly, I've literally never used this effect. I wonder if this is a relatively newer effect. I am gonna have to sort of guess on this and use context clues because like I said, I've never used that. I've used UseEffect, which is it's a hook that updates every time anything in the dependency array changes. And so I'm gonna have to look and say use layout effect will have something obviously to do with the layout. So I want to say to complete the update, no. To optimize for all devices, probably not. When you need the browser to paint before the effect runs, I feel like that's it. To change the layout of the screen, it could also be that. I'm gonna go with this though. Yeah, sure. I don't know for sure. I'm gonna look this up afterwards, but I'm gonna go with that. How do you fix the syntax error that results from running this code? So we have a person, it's a function that takes a first name and a last name, and then it returns, oh, it's supposed to return an object, but it isn't because it's missing parentheses. So wrap the object in parentheses. What do you call the message wrapped in curly braces below? This is, I guess they're talking about this. That would be, now the formal name for that, I'm not exactly sure. A JSX wrapper, perhaps? That makes sense because it is JSX and you are wrapping it in curly braces. So that technically makes sense. I wouldn't call it a JavaScript element. That doesn't make sense. A JavaScript function? No, that doesn't make sense. A JavaScript expression? Yes, that is technically true. So is it a JavaScript expression or is it a JSX wrapper? I'm going to go with the JSX wrapper just because I know it's JSX. I don't know. Why is it a good idea to pass a function to set state instead of an object? That is an interesting question. Set state is asynchronous and might result in out of sync values. That is true. Set state is in fact asynchronous. B, it automatically updates a component. No, I don't think it actually does automatically update a component. So we're gonna go and say no to that one. It makes sure that the object is not mutated. It provides better encapsulation. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with encapsulation. It makes sure that the object is not mutated. Mm, I don't, yeah, I mean, set state is a function, but it's saying why is it a good idea to pass a function to set state instead of an object? That is a very strange question. I'm going to have to guess again. Let's say, I don't really know how that passing a function, I'm going to go with this because that seems to be the one that makes the most sense out of those four, and I've only got 8 seconds left. What value of button will allow you to pass the name of the person to be hugged? What value of button will allow you to pass the name of the person to be hugged? All right. So we have a React component here. Hug is a function that takes an ID, and we're rendering a button, but the button itself needs to be, we need to pass in the name, which is this. So that's kitty. On click, we would want to make sure that we pass in the name. So it would be this one. Yep, that's the one. Because it's not this one. Wait. Give me 1 second. That's kind of a trick question. I see what it did there. It's this one, because it's already going to have the event in the function. And if we pass it, ID is the first parameter of this function. So yeah, that's the one. What will happen when this UseEffect hook is executed, assuming name is not already equal to John? It's going to set an infinite loop because it's going to update the name to John. Now that's interesting. Would it cause an infinite loop? Because it's always going to be setting it to the same name. So the other options will be, it will update the value of name once and not run again until the name is changed from the outside. It will execute the code inside the function, but only after waiting to ensure that no other component is accessing the name variable. Okay, this is interesting because in effects, whenever name changes, we're going to run this set name function here. So it's going to run initially assuming that it's not John, but then it's always John afterwards because it's hard coded here as John. So is it considered changing? It depends on how it does the checking, and I'm going to have to say it will update the name of it will update the value of name once and then not run again until name is changed from the outside. That's what I think. So I'm going to go with that. I'm probably going to fail this thing, man. When might you use React.pure component? When you do not want your component to have state. Now, pure component, okay. So when you want to have a default implementation of should component update, no. When you do not want your component to have props. When you have sibling components that need to be compared. It's either A or C, I think, because when you do not want your component to have state, that makes sense, but I've never used React.pure component before. I just use function components, and if I'm using TypeScript, the type is always React.function component, FC. Now, just judging by the name, I'm going to have to guess and say when you do not want your component to have state. That seems to make the most amount of sense to me. So I'm going to go with that. What do you need to change about this code in order to get it to run? Well, let's look at it now. Let me see. Why doesn't this code run? Class clock extends. Well, I do believe you have to capitalize classes. And that is going to be the answer. So What is the difference between the click behaviors of these two buttons, assuming that this.handleClick is bound correctly? All right, so the difference between them is that one, there really isn't a difference. I mean, I don't see a difference because this right here, it's automatically going to pass the event to handleClick. So I don't think that there's a difference here. Currently, handleClick is being called instead of passed as a reference. How do you fix this? I mean, you could do this, which is basically the same question as last time, just kind of cheekier. Wait, is A and D the exact same? Oh, ooh, tricky. That doesn't have a capital C. They tried to get me. Wow, that's not nice, LinkedIn. What is the children prop? A property that adds a child element to state? No. A property that lets you pass components as data to other components? Yes, but I don't know about that terminology specifically, but a property that lets you pass data to child elements, a property that lets you set an array as property. So children lets you pass a component or other JSX as a property into a child component. So I'm going to go with that. What is e.target.id in this code snippet? In that code snippet, it would be the key to an object. Is that what it's asking me? A dynamic key. It would be a computed property name. Is this some sort of weird terminology that I need to know the exact name of? Because I don't like assessments where it expects you to just know some term. Like I've used React now for years and I don't know what the term is they're wanting me to call this. I mean, it is technically a computed property name, yes. But I would also call it a dynamic key. Now, maybe not a dynamic key in the sense it's not gonna, I would say computed property name. That's just what I'm gonna go with. How do you set a default value for an uncontrolled form field? You would use the default value property because you don't want to, yeah. You could also use, I think you want to use the value property and then initialize the variable that you pass in as the value as the default value. But that's a controlled form field. So maybe this is the answer because this would be for an uncontrolled form field. See, this terminology, man. I thought it was going to be more hands-on coding kind of questions. I've done a lot of React interviews. I really have, and I've never had questions like this before. When using webpack, why would you need to use a loader? A loader in webpack is to, I feel like it would be, I don't want to say it's to load external data, but it could be. I don't think it's to pre-process files either, and I don't think it's, so I would say maybe this, but hold on. To load the website into everyone's phone, it's definitely not that. Webpack has nothing to do with that. To put together physical file folders, no, I don't believe so, not for this question. To pre-process files, I think there's a concept of preprocessors in Webpack, so I don't think that's it. We'll go with to load external data. Let's see how bad I did. It just says I scored in the top 30%, but it doesn't say, it doesn't give me my actual score. Aw. So I guess I just got a badge and I scored in the top 30%, but I have no idea whether or not I got certain questions right or anything like that. Learn more about how your score was calculated. Maybe we can get the answers. No? Guess not. Well, I feel accomplished. Hopefully you guys in the comments can tell me which ones I got right and which ones I got wrong. I think some of them I'm 100% sure I got right, but some of them I was a little bit confused with the wording, so I could have gotten it wrong. I still feel like I would have done a lot better on a hands-on coding assessment, but hey, I still got in the top 30%, so I'm going to call it a day. And oh, by the way, everyone who's watching, just to let you know, I'm going to be releasing a React tutorial series that you guys are going to absolutely love. I'm going to start recording. I've already got all the code finished. I'm going to start recording on Friday throughout the weekend, and I'm going to edit throughout the next week. And I'm going to try to have 2 videos out per week of this new series starting the Sunday after Christmas. So keep an eye out for that. You're going to love it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.